Welcome back to the Sporty Bros, and today we are bringing you guys our bowl game predictions, part 1 of 3. All the bowl games from December 16th up to December 22nd. Let's get started.
Okay, so first is the Bahamas Bowl. It is on Friday, December 16th. It is Miami, Ohio versus UAB. What's your score?
I have UAB winning 31-16. UAB, they're top 20 in rushing yards per game. They're 10-point favorites. The over-under is 44.5 right here. Neither of them have a top 200 passing game. Then both teams are 6-6. UAB has had some good games, and that's my final score. And we're getting our odds from here, Yahoo Sportsbook BetMGM. So that's where our odds are coming from.
And my prediction for Miami, Ohio versus UAB, I have UAB winning 31-23. Like you said, UAB's top 15 in rushing yards per game. Miami does not have any big margin wins. They have lots of close wins. Yeah.
The next matchup is the Cure Bowl. Number 24 Troy versus number 25 USTA. Troy is 11-12 and USTA is 11-12. Troy, they have a very strong defense, but USTA can counter that because they're very high scoring and they pass quite well. Troy's a 1-point favorite though. The over-under is 54.5 here. But I have USTA prevailing 28-18 in this matchup.
You said they're both 11-12.
11-2.
Okay. So I have number 25 USTA beating Troy 27-24. UTSA is 18th in points per game and 15th in yards per game, so they have a pretty strong offense. And UTSA, that's it for my prediction.
The next matchup we have is the Fenway Bowl, Cincinnati versus Louisville. So Cincinnati is 9-3. They have a few close losses to ranked opponents. Louisville, they're 7-5. They're 2-1 versus ranked opponents, and they seem to come up big in big spots. Louisville is a 1.5-point favorite. Both teams do have good defenses. The over-under here is 43.5. And I have Louisville coming out on top 24-22.
Okay, so I have Cincinnati beating out Louisville in this game 26-20. Cincinnati does have a pretty good offense. On the other side, Louisville does not have a very good offense, especially in the passing game. And all of Cincinnati's losses were one-possession games. So they've always stuck with their opponents. They never get blown out. They never lose by a lot. The next game is the Celebration Bowl. Jackson State
12-0.
NC Central.
They're 9-2.
Okay.
I have all the records down.
So Jackson State, I have winning 31-21 here. They are 12-0, like he said, and NC Central is 9-2. My over/under was 16.5. Well, the over/under is 16.5.
That's not the over/under.
Jackson State is favored by 16.5. The over/under is 56. And that's my prediction for this game.
Jackson State, all their wins are by 2 or more possessions, except an 8-point win versus the Campbell Fighting Camels. I'm pretty sure this is Deion Sanders' last game with the program before he goes to Colorado. NC Central seems like above average, but not too good. Both teams are pretty good all around. But NC Central, they did lose to Campbell. I have Jackson State 38, NC Central 17. Next, we have the Las Vegas Bowl. Number 14, Oregon State takes on unranked Florida. Oregon State is 9-3. Florida is 6-6. Oregon State is favored by 10.5 here. Over under, we got 52. Florida, they've been pretty up and down throughout the season, but they're around average, finishing 6-6. Oregon State has some close games versus their ranked opponents. They're coming off a 3-game win streak, including a crazy comeback win versus Oregon in their rivalry matchup. Oregon State is pretty good. They're above average, ranked 14th in the nation. I have Oregon State coming on top in a pretty close game, 31-26.
So he basically covered all of my notes. So I have Oregon State beating out Florida 38-24.
Next, we have the LA Bowl, Washington State versus Fresno State. Washington State 7-5, Fresno State 9-4. Fresno State is favored by 3 in this matchup. We got the over/under at 54.5. Fresno State is on a big win streak. They started 1-4, so they're on an 8-game win streak here. Both are below-average offenses. They have okay defenses. Washington State has had a lot of ranked games, and they've had 3 close ranked games. So they're able to hang with the big teams. I have Washington State coming on top in a close matchup, 24-21.
Okay, so I have Washington State beating Fresno State 26-23 here. Like he said, they do have some close games with top teams. And Fresno State has a really low-scoring offense. So I think that's going to help with Washington State's defense.
And next we have the Lending Tree Bowl. 5-7 Rice plays 6-6 Southern Mississippi.
By the way, there were not enough 6-6 teams in the bowl game, so that's why a 5-7 team made it.
I don't know the qualifier for the 5-7 team, but that happened. Okay, so Southern Mississippi is favored by 6.5 here. Over under 46.5. Rice looks like they're better overall in like most of the metrics.
And their stats.
Yeah, except for their defense, where Southern Mississippi allows 10 less points than Rice, and I have that as a big factor in this game. Southern Mississippi 30, Rice 13.
Okay, so I saw the same thing as you with Rice having a really bad offense. They had like 423rd best offense or something in the nation. And Southern Miss did beat top 25 teams such as Tulane. And I have Southern Miss beating Rice 31-23.
Okay, next we have the New Mexico Bowl. SMU versus BYU. SMU, both teams are 7-5 here. SMU is 1.5 point favorite here. Over under, we have a pretty high 68.5. Both teams have bad defenses and quite the good offense, and they have okay rushing games. SMU this season, they did score 77 points in a game in a very high scoring shootout with, I believe, they played Houston in that game. BYU, they started ranked, they fell off a bit, but they did beat number 9 Baylor.
Taylor?
Yeah.
Baylor also finished unranked. They went like 6-6.
Yeah. SMU is 0-2 versus their ranked opponents, but with 2 strong offenses, I feel like SMU's is stronger. They'll prevail with a 38-31 victory over BYU.
So I also saw that both teams do have good offenses, especially SMU's passing offense. I think that's going to lead them down the field in a game-winning drive in the last few minutes of the game here, so that's a plus for them. And I have SMU winning 34-28.
Next, we have the Frisco Bowl. 9-4 Boise State takes on 7-6 North Texas here. Boise State is favored by 10.5 in this matchup. Over under, we have 57.5. Boise State has a pretty good rush defense, top 20. They haven't played any ranked teams though. Their offense is like middle of the pack. North Texas, they're a heavy run team. They have high yardage, mostly coming from the run game also. And they have a bad defense. They're not in the top 200 of yards and points allowed. So I have Boise State taking advantage of that North Texas flaw. Boise State 33, North Texas 19.
I have Boise State winning this game 30-25 here, as Boise State has a pretty good defense, and I think they'll be able to hold up against North Texas's run game here. So I have Boise State 30-25. I think I already said that. So next is the Myrtle Beach Bowl, Marshall versus UConn. In this game, Marshall is favored by 10, and the over/under is 41. I have a score of 31-13, Marshall beating UConn. Marshall is on a 4-game win streak, and they have momentum going into this game. And UConn has a bad offense and will have trouble against Marshall's good defense.
Marshall 8-4, Connecticut 6-6. Marshall has good defense to Connecticut's bad offense. Both teams are low scoring and they have good rushing. Marshall did beat number 8 Notre Dame pretty early in the season, and UConn is 0-2 versus their ranked opponents Michigan and North Carolina State. So I have a pretty low scoring game, 24 Marshall, 13 UConn.
Okay, and next is the best named bowl ever, the famous Idaho Potato Bowl.
Yay!
Eastern Michigan plays San Jose State here. Over/under 54.5. San Jose State is favored by 3.5. I have this game San Jose State 27, Eastern Michigan 23. San Jose State has a good defense that goes well with the above-average offense, and in all of their losses, Eastern Michigan has given up more than 25 points, so they don't have a good defense.
So I have 8-4 Eastern Michigan, 7-4 San Diego State. Fun fact, Eastern Michigan's only bowl win actually came over San Diego State in like 1980 something. Eastern Michigan has played in a lot of close games. They're a good third down team, but they're okay overall. San Diego State, bad defense. They have a bad rushing game, but they have a pretty good passing game. And they also have a lot of close games. I have Eastern Michigan taking this one in overtime. San Diego State missing the 2-point conversion.
San Jose State.
San Jose State missing the 2-point conversion, 27-26. Next.
Okay, and the next bowl is the Boca Raton Bowl.
Boca Raton, I think.
Whatever. Liberty is playing Toledo. I have a final score of Liberty 30, Toledo 24. Toledo is favored by 5, and the over/under is 54. So both teams have an above-average offense, but Liberty has a better defense, and I think that gives them the edge over Toledo.
8-4 Liberty and 8-5 Toledo. Liberty is on a 3-game losing streak. Liberty did play a ranked game versus Wake Forest pretty early in the season. They lost by 1 point, 37-36 in that game. Toledo, they're pretty streaky. They've played a lot of close games, and I don't know if this is really like relevant to this game, but they were blown out by Ohio State. But I have Toledo taking this one 28-25. Next, we have the New Orleans Bowl, and what you like to call
the Birthday Bowl.
Yeah, it's his birthday on the 21st, so he wants to call it the Birthday Bowl, but I refuse. So, South Alabama 10-2 versus 8-5 Western Kentucky. South Alabama favored by 4.5. Over/under of 56 here. Both teams are high scoring, but they both have good defenses. South Alabama has 2 losses, but they're from a combined 5 points. Western Kentucky either isn't a blowout or a really close game, it seems like. And they do have a top 5 passing offense in the nation. I have South Alabama outlasting Western Kentucky in double overtime, 42-40.
Okay, so my score is 34-31. Western Kentucky pulls out the win here. They do have a top 5 passing offense. I'm pretty sure you stole that note from me.
I did.
South Alabama is 0-2 against ranked teams this season. But Western Kentucky, I just think they're a better team and they can pull out this win. But both of these high-scoring offenses are going to overpower the opposing team's defense, so it's going to be a high-scoring game, 34-31.
So now we have our final bowl game for part 1, the Armed Forces Bowl. Baylor versus Air Force. Baylor is 6-6. Air Force is 9-3. Baylor is a 5.5-point favorite though. The over/under is 49.5. Baylor, they're 0-5 versus ranked opponents this season. They had 2 close ones versus they lost to TCU by 1 recently, and they had a close game to BYU pretty early in the year.
That seems pretty interesting that Baylor has played 5 ranked opponents. That seems like a lot.
Yeah.
And I think they probably had a really hard schedule.
Yeah, the Big 12 was pretty good this year. And they have a top 5 defense. They have a top 3 rushing game. And they're almost out of the top 300 in passing yards per game. So
Baylor?
Now I'm talking about Air Force. They have a top 5 defense, top 3 rushing, and they're almost out of the top 300 in their passing game. So they have to lean on the run, and I don't think that will lead them to victory. Baylor will pull it out, 23-17 in the final bowl game of Part 1.
Okay, in the final bowl game of Part 1, I have Baylor beating Air Force 24-20. They do have a pretty well-rounded offense with some passing and running. I did also say that Air Force relies on the run too much and needs to pass the ball more. That does not seem like it's a very clutch offense. I'm pretty sure you stole that note from me too.
No, I did not. I did my own research.
Okay.
I only stole 1 note.
But
maybe more. Thank you guys for watching this video. We'll be out with part 2 by December 23rd. And if you haven't seen, we're in a subscriber battle with my friend Jeremy, so click that subscribe button so we can beat him to 100 subscribers. Is there anything else?
It's very intense. He also posted a video about the subscriber battle, so we're both into it. So you guys need to make sure you smash that subscribe button.
And the Sporty Bros are out.